Hey folks, this is Ben with Thrive New Orleans and Launch NOLA. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been working with a lot of you to make sure that you have the information that you need and the assistance that you need in order to capitalize upon the SBA relief funds, specifically through PPP and EIDL loans. And so a lot of y'all have been taking this opportunity to get the one-on-one assistance that we're offering. But for those of you who don't have the luxury to get that one-on-one assistance, I want to create another way that can help prepare you. So we're going to actually do a walkthrough of the entire PPP process so that you can see the application, you can know what you need to get from your records so that whenever you go to the bank, you are ready to rock and roll and get in line so that you can help ensure that your loan is being considered and funding received. So we're going to start, we're going to use Hope Credit Union as the example. We've been partnering with them, Thrive New Orleans and Launch, that is, along with Propeller. They are working specifically for folks who might not have banking relationships. So if you don't have a bank that you've had a loan with before, or your business account is at a big national bank like Chase and you want to work with somebody more local, we would encourage you to go to Hope Credit Union. They also have funding specifically for small and minority-owned businesses during this time, and so they could be a great resource for you because they are making sure to prioritize that. So head on over to hopecu.org. There's a lot of information about PPP. So if you scroll down just a little bit, you're going to see right here in this language here, visit our PPP webpage. If you go there, which we'll do right now, it is going to take you to some more information here. If you read through this, one, they're currently accepting applications even today. That was of yesterday. And I believe that was even before any news came out from Congress. So know that applications are rolling right now. How to apply. They have two different applications here. So what you're going to do is you're going to download the documents, fill those out, and then email them. For all of y'all in Louisiana, you're going to email them to Kathy Saloy. You can send her an email here. You can call her to follow up to make sure that she received that. For now, we're going to dive into these documents. We're going to actually start with the SBA Paycheck Protection Program application. This is the standard from the SBA, and this is what it looks like. So I went ahead and filled this out with a fictional business of mine. So right at the top, they're going to ask what type of business you are. For some of y'all who may not have incorporated already, you might be sole proprietorship. So you want to mark that. But many of y'all are going to be LLC. There's also, of course, S Corp. Some of y'all might be partners or independent contractor. For those in the faith community, 501c3 nonprofit right there, just make sure to select the one that you are. Put in your business legal name. So this is the full one that's on your articles of incorporation that you did with the state. If you're an LLC, you can go to gobiz.gov and look that up. If you have a trade name here, if Datcone Creamery LLC is my full business name, but I go by Datcone, I might put that in there too. Business address. If you're working from home, just put down your home address. They just need to know where it's kind of anchored. If you have multiple sites, like if you're construction, you're like, hey, I'm working everywhere, just use your home address for that. It's where, sort of your mailing address, if you will. This is your tax ID number. That's something that you got from the IRS. It's probably in some of your documents, floating around your emails. If worse comes to worse, you are able to reach out to the IRS and get that. And if you are a sole proprietor and never incorporated, you can also use your EIN. That might also apply for independent contractors as well. Business phone right there, contact, and email address. Now here they ask for the average monthly payroll, and what they're looking for here is really simple. If you think back to the past year, so 2019, they want you to add up all of what you paid yourself and divide that by 12. So for some of y'all who might have kind of fluctuating salaries depending upon business, just look at what you received from your business last year. So maybe that's $1,000 one month and $4,000 the next month that you took as salary. Just add all of that up, divide it by 12. And so for me, I'll say that was around 26,000 in ice cream sales. Let me calculate that right now. So that's 26 divided by 12, and that is 2166.67. And now what they ask here is to multiply that monthly payroll by 2.5 plus EDL net of advance if applicable. This is for folks who want to refinance an EIDL loan that they got since the beginning of all of this. Most likely that's not going to be applying to you. If you feel like it does, I would encourage you just to reach out for the one-on-one assistance that we're offering, and we'll walk you through that. But for now, we're just going to take this number and multiply that by 2.5, which comes out to be 5417. And for me, it's just myself. And so I would put the number of employees here. If, for example, you had a couple of employees, right? And so this is what you paid yourself, but you also paid an employee about the same. You would just use that to calculate the payroll. So it's not just for yourself. It's for anybody that you're paying. If you have benefits, if you have paid vacation time, if you include withholding for taxes, or you provide a savings plan, all of that can be wrapped up in this payroll amount. So know that that can be more than just physically the money that they get in the form of cash. It can be all of those benefits and the costs that are tied to that comes from your business. So you can include that here. If there's multiple employees, say there's two, and both of y'all got paid about $26,000 over the year, divide that by 12, you're just going to multiply this by 2, right? And so that would be 4,000 and odd, and then multiply that by 2.5, and that will give you your number here. But for me, it's just myself. I'd imagine that's a lot of y'all. It's just yourself. And so I'm going to stick with what I paid myself, multiply that by 2.5, number of employees. And then they ask what the purpose of the loan is. Payroll is going to be the default. If you want to include some others, know that up to 25% of this loan can be used for things outside of payroll and still be forgiven. If you use more than 25% outside of that, that amount is not going to be forgivable. So you will have to pay that back, but you could also pay for mortgage and lease. But for me, it's just payroll and utilities because it's home-based at this point in time. So that's what we're going to work with. Then they ask for applicant ownership. All owners, 20% or more for most of y'all. This is going to be just you. If there are others, just make sure to include them in here. And if you have to, you can attach a separate sheet if necessary to list all of those. Their name, their title, percent ownership, and their tax identification if it's an LLC that owns it, or EIN, SSN if it's an individual would be the SSN, Social Security, and their address. Then we get to a couple of questions. Most of these for a lot of y'all are just going to be kind of quick. No, 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 yes, no. But let's walk through them to make sure that we're understanding them correctly. So is any applicant or owner of the applicant presently suspended, debarred, proposed from debarment, declared ineligible, voluntarily excluded from participation in this transaction by any federal department or agency or presently involved in any bankruptcy? So be honest here. If you know that that is, in fact, a yes, you're going to select yes. But for most of y'all, I'd imagine it's going to be no. Has the applicant and the owner of the applicant, meaning the business, or any business owned or controlled by them, ever obtained direct or guaranteed loan? So this is not just have you gotten an SBA loan, but that is currently delinquent or has defaulted in the last 7 years. So if you have, mark yes. For most of us, that's likely to be no. Is the applicant or any owner of the applicant have common management with other businesses? So if you have multiple businesses, if you have partnerships, if your business owns another business, you're going to need to list those businesses and describe the relationships in an attached addendum. So be sure to do that if that's a yes. Me, myself, I just have this business, and so I'm going to select no. Has the applicant received SBA EIDL loans between January 31st and April 3rd? You might have applied for them, but this is asking, have you received? I would imagine at this point in time, most of us have not. So if you have, yes, provide details, but for most of us, this is going to be no at this point in time because EIDL hasn't issued a whole lot yet, even if we have applied before. All right, so some more questions. Are you subject to indictment, criminal information, arraignment, or any other means by which formal criminal charges are brought in any jurisdiction or presently incarcerated on probation or parole? If no, select no, and make sure to initial here. That's an additional line that you'll need to do there. If yes, select yes. That's an unfortunate one, especially for folks who may be probation or parole, or who have criminal charges that haven't actually set in, or that are wrongly convicted. So that can be frustrating, but answer that honestly. Within the last 5 years, yes. So within the last 5 years, for any felony, note that. So it's felony. So it's not for misdemeanors. Have you been convicted, pleaded guilty, pleaded nolo contendere, been placed on pretrial diversion, or placed in any form of parole or probation? Answer that one honestly. And then, is the United States the principal place of residence for all employees? That is for me. I'm just one employee, and I live in the U.S. So that's there. Is it a franchise? No. So you will want to read all of these just to make sure that you agree with all of it, because they are asking for you to certify this. I'm not going to walk through all of that. I trust that you will read that and certify honestly. And then you're going to want to walk through each one of these initialing. Again, the application was in operation on February 15th, 2020, and had employees for whom it paid salaries. So this is just making sure that you're not trying to create a business just to take advantage of PPP money, but you actually were affected and your employees were affected by this. Current economic uncertainty makes this loan request. So this is just, hey, has coronavirus actually impacted your business? Yes. The funds will be used to retain workers and maintain payroll or mortgage payments, lease payments, etc. So this is just certifying that you aren't going to use this money to go take a vacation. Not that you can go anywhere right now, but you are actually going to use this to retain workers, yourself included, but it could be some of your employees, making sure that that is your priority with these funds. The application will provide the lender documentation verifying the number of full-time equivalent employees. So you will show the lender the documentation of your payroll costs, etc. I understand that loan forgiveness will be provided in the sum of the documented payroll costs, covered mortgage interest, etc., and not more than 25% of it being non-payroll costs. So knowing, this is what I mentioned earlier, that while payroll and mortgage and rent and utilities can be covered, only 25% of that forgiven amount can be in utilities. If it's more than that, you're going to have to repay it. During the period and ending, so between February 15th and December 31st, you will not receive another loan from the Paycheck Protection Program. So that's just making sure that you're not running around trying to put in a lot of applications and getting multiple loans. All information is true as far as you know it, and that the lender will confirm the eligible loan using the required documents submitted. So that is a piece that we're going to get to in just a moment. Of course, you sign, print, and add the title and date. If you do want some more instructions or get confused as you go through it, there are some instructions here as well as some further reading. Once you're finished with this, again, download that and get ready to email it. And you'll want to move to the Hope PPP commercial loan application, which I have open here. So this is very similar. You're going to see a lot of the same kind of stuff. I did notice that online, whenever you click, it selects all of these. So you might actually have to print this out and do it one by one, or use a different kind of PDF editor to be able to select which one of these you are. So again, today's date business started, you're going to be able to find that in your articles of incorporation if you're an LLC or other type of corporation. If you are a sole proprietor who hasn't gone through the Secretary of State in any way, you're just going to want to refer to whatever documentation you have for when the business formally started. The form of business, if you are an S Corp, a C Corp, if you are an LLC, that's going to be for-profit corporation. If you are a sole proprietor, you've never gone through and gotten your LLC or anything like that, you're going to select that. Partnership, nonprofit, or co-op, you'll know which one to select there. Name of business, street address, most of this is standard, and you can actually just pull that right off of the SBA application. How did you learn about Hope? You can put in however you heard about them, if you heard about them through us, or if you've known about them before. Email address, tax ID number for your business, or Social Security if you're not incorporated, cell phone or pager if you still have a pager, and then circle whether or not it's a cell phone or pager. Briefly describe your business. You can be longer than this, but we sell ice cream at a local ice cream shop. That's for my make-believe business. And then how was your business affected by COVID-19? We had to close shop. Pickup and delivery sales are very low. Owner names, address, Social Security, ownership percentage. Again, if there's more than that, you will need to make note of that. You could potentially just put in a comma there and have that, whatever. That's actually a phone number, but address, whatever. You can separate it with commas so that folks can see that. If they have any questions, they're just going to reach out to you to clarify that. So it might be 50-50 split, just for the sake of example, and you can put it in that way. Amount requested, you're going to want to refer back to this worksheet right here. So that was 5417. And we're going to put that in right there, 5417. Employees before the loan, it's just me. And projected employees 1 year after the loan, I would think maybe it's just me. Heck, maybe I hire somebody else on. Proposed use of the loan proceeds. If you need to actually give more, they're going to ask for it, and you can attach a separate sheet. For most of us, I would imagine it's going to be payroll. Payroll for the next 8 weeks, plus utilities for a 2-month period I included. Because my home-based business, let's just imagine that I pay for a portion of our utilities because of what we use through the business. Maybe it's business internet. Proposed repayment schedule and sources of repayment. Monthly payments beginning in 6 months through return of tourism revenues once COVID-19 effects decrease. Something of that sort. Just be honest there. I would imagine if they have any questions about that, they're just going to reach out and ask you point blank what that looks like. And again, if you use this for payroll and only 25% or less for some of those other qualifying expenses, it is forgivable. So you shouldn't have to, by my understanding. If there's anybody else that can be a cosigner, you can include their information there. And then they do ask for a handful of things that I want to walk through here. 1, completed Paycheck Protection Program loan calculations worksheets. That's going to be, my understanding, is that is the SBA application. So I think that should work. If they need something more, they're going to request that from you. SBA forms and application, we have that there. Photo identification for each signer. Send in a picture of or attach a picture of your ID, your driver's license, something of that sort. Articles of incorporation and organizational documents, that is something that you should have floating around in your email, your file cabinets. And if worse comes to worse, you can go to the Secretary of State's website and order a new copy of that. I had to do that myself. It's a couple of dollars, but then you'll have it saved and you can use that. Corporate partnership resolutions to borrow. If you have any of the resolutions to borrow that you need your partner or your board of directors to sign off on, you can do that. Most recent tax return, that's going to apply to us. This is your 2018 or 2019. If you haven't filed your 2019, 2018 works, but they just want to see your most recent tax return. And that's your likely going to be your individual if you are a solo entrepreneur or an LLC that just ran this through your Schedule C on your 1040. Borrow in good standing certification. I'm not necessarily familiar with that, so I'd imagine they're going to ask if you don't provide that, and they do need it. They'll provide guidance on that. Let's see here. Certifications that it is necessitated. Again, what those certifications look like, I'd imagine that they are going to actually ask you if they need them. Proof of federal tax ID number. So send them a picture of your EIN on the paper from the IRS that you got it, or a screenshot from the IRS whenever they send it to your email. Proof of annual payroll costs. So this is something that you can pull if you have a payroll company. You can get their reports. I would imagine that even if you have an income statement or a profit or loss statement for the past year, if you are able to provide that documentation, that should work to show your payroll costs. And then you just want to make sure to sign all of this information down here, save it, and send it off. Again, that was Kathy Saloy. If there are a couple of these items that you're not sure about, and so you send this off to start, I would encourage you, whenever you email Kathy, to just include those things and ask, could you provide further guidance if necessary, or give her a call to follow up and say, hey, wasn't sure what was needed to certify as a borrower. Please let me know what I can do to get that working. And they will work with you to make sure that that happens. If you continue to have issues, again, I would encourage you to visit, I want to say, both Thrive New Orleans and Launch NOLA's social media pages, Facebook and Instagram. There was a post in there in the past couple of days with a link to get one-on-one assistance. So if you're still having issues or still have some questions, check that out. Schedule a time to sit down one-on-one, and we will walk you through this process to make sure that you're able to get this application in ASAP so that you have a higher likelihood of receiving these benefits.